because they're not the enemy. And people get upset with me when I say that. I'm like, wait a minute, the same corporate masters who brought us over here, brought black people over here. That's what's happening with them. Biden let it out. He said the quiet part out loud, Xavier and Mark and Dwight and Alderman. He said we got to we need our farm workers. The folks y'all don't want to pay. And now we're pushing these big farms. We're pushing big farms into prominence. Because we have big pharma, we have big farms. The family farm is dying because they're not dying, they're being killed by big farms. By Bill Gates, who's now the biggest landowner in the United States. Why? What? You don't own enough? I mean, are you serious? They are being brought so that we don't have to pay them anything. They're not being dropped all over the country. They're being dropped strategically. You farm out in California. You farm in the Midwest. You farm in the Northeast. That is what you do. You leave New York City, like Chicago, like LA, they are anomalies in their states. Much of California is farmland. Much of the world is farmland. I mean, God gives us, is so generous. God just can't run out of places, bounty, so that we can draw from his bounty and eat. They're being dropped in places. They have been pushed in the front of the line in front of 12 million people while waiting patiently to get their papers so they can become immigrants, so they can get asylum here. No, they've been put at the front of the line so they can go to work for nothing and be mistreated here. That's what this is about. And we can't remember, Dwight, thank you for that. And we can't remember the fear, the terror of our ancestors trying to escape slavery? Are you serious? No, you can't do that. That's not right. And God will put us on the back of that bus and back in those fields. Because if you don't, there is no social promotion in the spirit world. If you don't learn the lesson, God will make you repeat it until you learn it. You might play out here in the world, but you ain't going to play with God. If you don't get the spiritual lessons learned, you're going to have to learn them over. You're going to get the lesson over and over and over and over again until you get it. I hope we get it. You know, with this composition of people, and we have to remember the AAPI community and the indigenous community. There are a lot of people who are yearning to be and breathe free here in the United States, and they deserve it. Black people are not the only aggrieved people in the United States. First people who are aggrieved are the indigenous people. We're on their land. Mark Fancher reminds us of that all the time. This is their stolen land. We need to ask them permission first to stay. Mississippi, Illinois. These are Indian names. Who does this? These folks stole everything from them and then kept the names. That's rich. Now, that's a neat trick, Dwight. That's rich. So does anyone else have anything that they'd like to say before we go?
You know, as a pastor, whenever I go to a church and the preacher has preached, to grab the mic to give comments is disrespectful. You have set us to new grounds. Thank you, Santita, for real. That's how you conclude. Yeah, amen.
And look, amen. I know God makes you repeat the lesson until you learn it. You might be able to get by in school here on earth, but you ain't gonna get away with God. Ain't gonna let it happen. So here we go. Let's figure it out. But we're so proud of you, Alderman Will Hall, and we wish you we thank God that your people are represented by you. And beyond wishing you success, I just pray that God continues to give you the heart to serve, and that you will continue to be available to God to be of use. I'm so glad.
Amen. I receive that.
Yes, receive that. Receive that. It is given with love. And if there's anything I can do, all you have to do is call. Please don't text. You can text, but all y'all young people, would you just make a phone call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow, all these texts. I sent you a text. I'm like, call me. What you say? You said our land, Robert. Our lands were stolen by the Romans. The Europeans have had a good time. You know, they've had a good time. This has been their particular turn of history. But the fact is, no one has quite gotten it right. Okay, so you know, everybody, your self-righteousness, you can just throw that on out the window. Ain't nobody perfect. We're all unclean. So now we can go on and get clean together. How about that piece? Why don't we all learn these lessons together? Every time you see a migrant, you need to think about the Underground Railroad. Thank you, Dwight, for that. Think about that. People did risk their lives. You were called the N-word lover and worse. White people have faced all kinds of social exclusion, and they have been killed trying to save black folks. Ask Goodman Schwerner. Okay? They buried them and made them pay. They were just coming from New York trying to help folks to get registered to vote. Oh, no, they got killed. Okay? Mickey Schwerner and Andy Goodman and James Chaney. So just, think about that, everybody. Think about it. Think about it. So, oh yeah, Laura, you said I'm really right. And my mother made that observation. She said most of the states in this country are Indian names. Absolutely, they're indigenous, of course. We stole the land and kept the names. Who does that? That is so rich. Oh my gosh. Talk about hubris, excessive pride and arrogance. You steal somebody's stuff and then you keep the name. And you might, and I'm going to make a treaty with you, but I'm never, ever going to fulfill it. And you think God is going to bless you for that? Please. I'm telling you, you need to see Fareed Zakaria's, his commentary at the beginning of his show from this past Sunday. He talked about something that I've told you all so many times before. The colonized nations are rising up as the former colonizers are catching hell. Europe and the West are trying to reorganize their money. They're trying to stay in the mix financially. In the meantime, the people who they colonized are coming up with new currencies, and they're coming together and they're saying we don't want the dollar. We're tired of your arrogance. Even Putin said, you know what? We're about to break up this neocolonialism. That's what he said. So you want to figure out why the Indians, East Indians, and Africans and people of color are talking to him? It's because he talks that language and they can cut business deals with him. And we're playing games. These folks know that we got embarrassed into getting our voting rights because they put the picture of black children being eaten by dogs on the cover of Pravda, which was the state paper of the USSR at the time. Because our enemy got him, because they embarrassed us. They said, oh, this is America. And you saw the hoses being turned on black kids and the dog. People, get over yourselves. Ain't nobody perfect. But you know what? We can be perfected in God. That is the good news. So let's get well together. How about that? These are God's people, and they're coming back home anyway, as God would have it. They are Spanish-speaking indigenous people. How about that? I love you, everybody. I love you. And so let's get with it. Love you, Will. So proud of you. Love you, Mark Fancher. Love you, Xavier. Xavier, you got to keep on preaching. But I feel the Holy Spirit moving out of you. You just want to tell the truth. You're like, y'all, wait a minute. Y'all missing the point. Every time you come on, you're like, y'all missing the point. I love it. Seriously, you need to do that. I'm not kidding. I'm very serious. You can't get away from it. You cannot get away from it. It's coming. It's pouring all out of you, Xavier. It is.
That's what my mom said.
It is. It is. I see it and I feel it. So come on home and give a good word, Xavier. Come on. Just pray over that. Pray over that. Be available.
I will.
Pray over that. Pray over that. Because I don't think you would have been fooling with us if we were not trying to do it God's way. That's why you came this way in the first place. Just a bunch of secular people wouldn't have worked for you. You knew you'd be protected here, and you were.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and I love you. Since he's, I have to make him my baby. That's right. Since he couldn't vote. When he was trying to vote, when he was trying to get other people to vote, Dwight, poor child couldn't even vote himself and was running to be a delegate. Like, he said, I'll be able to vote by July. So, bless his heart. Yeah, so, everybody, I love you. And got a lot of errands to run today, so I'm going to get on out of here. But and you know what, tomorrow we're going to be talking about home ownership. Even in these uncertain times, you will be able to, you can own a home. You can refinance your home. We need to talk with David Hochberg about that tomorrow because I want us to be financially secure. But, I hope you all tell people today. And yes, I am very tired, but I'm going to be all right, you guys. The show is a blessing, but it does take a lot of work. And I do get up very early. Even if I go to bed late, I get up very early at 2 because I want to get things right for you. I do. And then as you hear me, I'm still running things off as we're coming on the air. But that's life. And, because I don't have a staff, I'm it. And typically on shows like this, you do have a staff. But that's not a complaint. It's just how it is. And I'm glad that God has given me the opportunity because now I know as I begin to get a staff, I can point them in the direction of where to get information. There's nothing that I can hire anyone to do that I've not done myself. And make sure that before you hire anyone, that you know how to do it yourself. Don't hire a housekeeper unless you've cleaned your house from top to bottom. Don't do that. Don't ask someone to do for you what you are unwilling to do for yourself. And maybe then, if you hire someone, you will treat them with respect because you've been there. How about that? I love everybody. So that's right, Paula. You said, errands, you need sleep. Yes, I do. Oh, I do. But I've got some things I need to do today, so there's that. But I love you all so much. And I hope you've gotten something out of the show today, and I hope that everybody on the panel has too. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get me some books on the Underground Railroad, Dwight. Thank you for that.